Indie games. You all know them, you've all played them, and most certainly you all love them. And for good reason. Small teams making incredible games without corporate pressure still surprises me to this day, and I want to talk about what my favorite indie game is. And no, this is not a video about Hollow Knight, as much as I love that game, but this game is just special to me, and that game is Clamman 2 Open Mic. A beta of the game without a confirmed release yet, oddly enough, but I absolutely adore this game. But enough talk. Let me show you my favorite indie game I've ever played. This is a 3-section video with timestamps on screen, so let's get started. So to talk about the art direction and all that stuff, I need to give a brief explanation of the basic premise of Clamman 2. Clamman 2 is about a man living an uneventful and mediocre life until one day he gets the opportunity to become a stand-up comedian. A simple and unique premise, I'd say. So knowing this, now let's take a look at this game's art style and tone, as I feel that they perfectly complement one another. The drab color of the buildings and environments showing the sort of routineness and bland atmosphere that shows what the main character's feeling. And it's not just Clamman. Rather than having children running around in the streets or charming and fun NPCs, the kids are just playing cards with blank expressions, adults looking tired and uninterested. But alternatively, some are kind of joyous in their fun little details in the world that are quite charming. As we explore and talk to people, we see how these many NPCs are handling the situation. Some are optimistic, some are as solemn as you, but others are content with their situation and make the best out of it. And if you're an attentive listener, the soundtrack and sound effects, well, they sound hollow and alone to me. But again, alternatively, there are some really spunky tracks that can lighten the mood depending on where you're at. It makes you feel as alone and solemn as Clamman is, which helps set the mood and tone and helps with the game's incredible immersion. This makes you feel like you too are in this drab town, and with the excitement of what happens later, it's all more impactful. Visually, I believe this is where the game is its most distinct, and I am very hard-pressed to find flaws in it. Now on to arguably the most important part of a video game, the game part. To me, this is probably the most acquired taste type part of the game, because this game is a text-based RPG of sorts. There are some small elements of exploration, which will hopefully be more fleshed out in the full release, but the base mechanics of the game are text-based, reading dialogue of an NPC and then choosing dialogue option for yourself. Some of the lines are voiced, but the majority are not. There's also occasionally a D20 die roll for certain actions, but they're not all that common. Now, some choices you make at the beginning of the game when it comes to skills will affect some of these things like speak checks and when a character is doing something more physical, like climbing down an elevator shaft, but not a whole lot beyond that. So obviously this is not a very exciting game, but there is a level of enjoyment in the gameplay, at least for me. It's just very relaxing and yet engaging and critical. There's no action or thrills or challenging sections, it's just reading and selecting dialogue, but you still have to think about how what you say will affect the character and get the response you want, as well as if it matches the skills that you selected earlier. It's a relaxed game, but it still has its engaging and fun moments. But again, it's a lot of reading, so it can be hard to get into for some. This is kind of turned on its head, though, in the final moments of the game, when you finally perform at a comedy night. Now, I definitely think you should experience this for yourself, so big spoiler warning, but if you don't really care, watch on. Skip here for the next section. Over the course of the game, you've been experiencing daily happenings due to the quests you were given at the beginning of the game, and now they're turning into jokes for you to use at the show. And it's about time to put them to use. Before this, you're placed in a room with one of the NPCs who run the club, and they give you a breakdown of how it works, about how jokes land or don't, and when you should properly transition. This is most certainly different, but in the end it is the same, choosing dialogue. But here this is basically your one shot, and choosing wrong could hurt you. Not that you could lose per se, but it provides a bit of tension the game never really had before, with one exception which I won't spoil because I think it's a brilliant encounter in the game. Gameplay-wise, this game is simple, but still engaging and enjoyable to me, but yet again I say, it's quite a bit of reading. As you might have caught on, the story is the main focus of this game. Like I said earlier, Clayman 2 is about a man living an uneventful and mediocre life until one day he gets the opportunity to become a stand-up comedian, but there's definitely some more to go over. You run into a number of NPCs throughout the world, as I said previous, to collect jokes for the show you'll be performing later that night. You get to learn more about them as well as take a side quest for them. Side quests that often relate to other NPCs, like how this girl tells you about her anxiety skill that she developed, and this loops back into with other NPCs as you test it on them to gather data for her. Now, again, I say you might have caught up on something, that this game is very interconnected. I've already described many story elements throughout this video and with what I just said about the side quests. Every part of this game complements itself, everything's connected, and everything matters. I can also say this about the small side stories you partake in as you play through the game. The short narratives are short, but unique and are genuinely hilarious all the time. And of course, this can't be possible if the game doesn't have great writing and comedy. If the writing was expository and boring, this text-based game wouldn't work, needless to say. This game has its strange and bombastic moments as well as its well-placed comedy and sadder and introspective moments. It keeps you engaged in a lot of different ways, and this game tries quite a bit for different things with its writing and accomplishes them all very well in my opinion. I absolutely love this game's story, and ensures that every time I replay it, I'm still having fun. All in all, I absolutely love this game and cannot stop praising it. I didn't even come close to covering all the things there is to love about this game in this video, just the stuff I think is the most important. But of course, I highly urge you to check the game out for yourself and give the developers your feedback. They absolutely do deserve your time. Thanks for watching. This video took me way too long to make, and bye-bye.